As I stand before you today, I am struck by the profound significance of our gathering, for we are here to explore the most fundamental journey any human being can undertake, the path to becoming oneself. The title of our discourse, I Am What I Choose to Become, resonates deeply with the core of analytical psychology and the individuation process that shapes our existence. Consider for a moment the magnificent paradox that lies before us. We are simultaneously who we are and who we are becoming. This dynamic tension between our present self and our potential self creates the very essence of psychological growth. In my years of research and clinical observation, I have witnessed countless individuals struggling with these fundamental truths, often hiding behind personas that society has constructed for them, rather than embracing the authentic self that lies within. Let us begin by understanding that the choice to become is not merely a single decision made at a crucial moment, but rather a continuous stream of choices that flow through every moment of our existence. Each thought, each action, each response to the world around us is a brick in the foundation of our becoming. The unconscious mind, that vast ocean of potential that lies beneath our conscious awareness, holds within it the seeds of who we might become. The shadow, that aspect of ourselves we often prefer to ignore, plays a crucial role in this process of becoming. It is not, as many might think, merely the repository of our darker impulses, but rather the storehouse of unused potential. When we choose to become, we must first choose to acknowledge and integrate these shadow aspects of ourselves. Think of it as mining for gold in the depths of your psyche. The precious metal cannot be reached without first moving through layers of earth and stone. In my professional experience, I have observed that those who actively engage with their shadow often discover extraordinary capabilities they never knew they possessed. Consider the artist who fears their own creativity, the leader who doubts their ability to guide others, or the healer who questions their capacity to help. These individuals often find their greatest strengths precisely in the areas they most fear to explore. The process of becoming is intimately connected with what I term the collective unconscious, that vast repository of human experience that we all share. When you choose to become, you are not merely making an individual choice. You are participating in the grand tapestry of human evolution. Your personal journey of becoming resonates with archetypal patterns that have existed since the dawn of human consciousness. Let me share with you an observation from my clinical practice. A young woman once came to me, trapped in a life that others had chosen for her. She had followed the path her family had laid out: prestigious education, respected profession, appropriate social circles. Yet she felt hollow inside. Through our work together, she began to recognize that her true calling lay in exploring the natural world, in understanding the delicate balance of ecosystem. Her choice to become was not easy. It meant disappointing others' expectations. Yet in choosing to become her authentic self, she not only found personal fulfillment, but also contributed meaningful research to our understanding of environmental conservation. This example illustrates a crucial point. The choice to become is not about selfish indulgence, but rather about aligning ourselves with our true nature, and in doing so, contributing our unique gifts to the collective human experience. The individuation process, which I have studied extensively throughout my career, is not about standing apart from others, but about becoming more fully ourselves so that we may more meaningfully connect with others. Consider the symbol of the tree, a powerful metaphor for the process of becoming. A tree does not question its nature. It grows toward the light, while simultaneously deepening its roots. It becomes what is meant to become through a natural process of growth and development. Yet unlike trees, we humans have consciousness, and with it comes the responsibility and privilege of choosing our path of growth. The concept of synchronicity, which I have explored in my work, plays a fascinating role in this process of becoming. When we align ourselves with our true nature, we often find that the universe seems to conspire to assist us. Meaningful coincidences appear, opportunities arise, and connections form that support our journey. This is not magical thinking, but rather a reflection of the profound interconnectedness of psyche and matter. Let me share another observation from my years of research. The people who most successfully navigate the process of becoming are those who learn to trust their intuition while maintaining a grounded connection to reality. They understand that the choice to become is not about floating away into fantasy, but about integrating the wisdom of both the unconscious and conscious minds. The anima and animus, those contrasexual aspects of our psyche, play crucial roles in our journey of becoming. For men, learning to integrate the anima means developing their capacity for relationship, emotion, and intuitive understanding. For women, integrating the animus involves claiming their authority, assertiveness. In my observation of human nature, I have noticed that many people fear the process of becoming because it requires facing uncertainty. The ego, in its desire for control and stability, often resists the very changes that would lead to greater wholeness. This is why courage is an essential component of the journey. The choice to become requires the courage to step into the unknown, to face our fears, and to trust in the wisdom of the psyche. The symbols and images that emerge from the unconscious during this process are not mere fantasies to be dismissed, but rather guideposts on the path of becoming. Dreams in particular offer valuable insights into the direction our psyche is trying to take us. I encourage you to pay attention to your dreams, not as prophetic messages, but as communications from the deeper layers of your psyche about your process of becoming. Let us consider the role of the persona in this journey. While the persona, our social mask, serves an important function in helping us navigate society, it can also become a prison if we identify with it too strongly. The choice to become often requires us to loosen our attachment to our persona, to allow our authentic self to emerge, even when it doesn't match others' expectations. I have observed that many individuals in our modern world suffer from what I would term a persona-identified existence. They have become so attached to their social role, their professional identity, or their public image that they have lost touch with their authentic self. The choice to become requires us to distinguish between who we truly are and the roles we play in society. The process of becoming often involves periods of disorientation and chaos. This is not a sign of failure, but rather a necessary phase of transformation. Just as the alchemists understood that the original material must be broken down before it can be transformed into gold, so too must we sometimes experience the dissolution of old patterns before new ones can emerge. In my clinical work, I have witnessed countless individuals go through this process of dissolution and reformation. It is never easy, but those who have the courage to persist often emerge with a stronger sense of self and a clearer understanding of their purpose in life. They discover that the choice to become is not a single decision, but a continuous commitment to growth and authenticity. The relationship between the individual and society takes on new meaning when viewed through the lens of becoming. While society often pressures us to conform to established patterns, the truly individuated person finds ways to contribute to society precisely through their uniqueness, By choosing to become our authentic selves, we offer to the collective something that no one else can provide. Consider the impact of those individuals throughout history who have had the courage to become themselves, despite societal pressure to conform. Artists, scientists, philosophers, and innovators who trusted their inner vision and chose to develop their unique gifts have enriched human culture immeasurably. Their example shows us that choosing to become is not an act of selfishness, but rather a contribution to the evolution of human consciousness. The process of becoming requires us to develop a different relationship with time. While the ego often demands immediate results, the deeper process of psychological development follows its own timing. Just as a seed cannot be forced to become a tree faster than its natural rhythm, so too must we learn to trust the timing of our psychological development. In my observations, I have noticed that those who successfully navigate the process of becoming develop what I would call psychological patience, the ability to stay engaged with their development while respecting its natural rhythm. This doesn't mean passive waiting, but rather active engagement with the process while maintaining trust in its unfolding. The choice to become often requires us to confront our complexes, those clusters of emotionally charged associations that can either hinder or facilitate our development. These complexes are not enemies to be eliminated, but rather aspects of our psyche that need to be understood and integrated. When we choose to become, we choose to work with our complexes rather than being controlled by them. Let me share an observation about the role of suffering in the process of becoming. While I do not advocate for seeking suffering, it is important to recognize that the choice to become often involves facing and working through psychological pain. This pain is not meaningless. It is often the catalyst for growth and transformation. The relationship between the personal and the collective aspects of the psyche becomes particularly important in the process of becoming. While each individual's journey is unique, it also connects with universal patterns of human experience. When we choose to become, we are simultaneously engaging with our personal psychology and with the broader patterns of human development. The symbol-making function of the psyche plays a crucial role in the process of becoming. Our psyche naturally creates symbols that bridge the conscious and unconscious, helping us to understand and integrate aspects of ourselves that we cannot directly access through rational thought. Learning to work with these symbols is an essential skill in the journey of becoming. The choice to become often requires us to develop what I call the transcendent function, the ability to hold and work with opposing aspects of our psyche. This isn't about choosing one side over another, but rather about finding a third way that integrates seemingly contradictory aspects of ourselves. In my clinical experience, I have observed that the process of becoming often involves a series of deaths and rebirths, not in a literal sense, but in terms of psychological transformation. Old patterns, beliefs, and ways of being must sometimes die for new ones to emerge. This can be frightening, but it is an essential part of the journey. The relationship between the ego and the self becomes particularly important in the process of becoming. While the ego often tries to control the process, true development requires us to develop a collaborative relationship between the ego and the deeper self. This involves learning to trust the wisdom of the psyche while maintaining conscious engagement with the process. Let me emphasize the importance of active imagination in the process of becoming. This is not mere fantasy, but rather a structured way of engaging with the unconscious material that emerges during our development. Through active imagination, we can dialogue with different aspects of our psyche and gain insights into our path of becoming. The choice to become involves developing what I would call psychological flexibility, the ability to adapt and respond to the changing demands of both our inner and outer worlds. This flexibility allows us to maintain our course of development while navigating the challenges and opportunities that life presents. In my observation, successful individuation often involves developing a new relationship with power. Rather than seeking power over others or being afraid of our own power, we learn to channel our energy in service of our authentic development and the greater good. The process of becoming requires us to develop psychological resilience, the ability to maintain our course of development, even in the face of setbacks and challenges. This resilience isn't about hardening ourselves, but rather about developing the flexibility and strength to continue our journey despite obstacles. Let me share an insight about the role of relationships in the process of becoming. While the journey is deeply personal, it doesn't occur in isolation. Our relationships can either support or hinder our development. And learning to navigate relationships while staying true to our path of becoming is an essential skill. The choice to become often requires us to develop new ways of relating to success and failure. Rather than seeing these as absolute endpoints, we learn to view them as feedback in our ongoing process of development. This shift in perspective allows us to learn and grow from both our achievements and our setbacks. Let me emphasize that the choice to become is not a single decision, but a continuous commitment to growth and authenticity. It requires courage, patience, and trust in the wisdom of the psyche. Yet the rewards of this journey are beyond measure, not just in terms of personal fulfillment, but in our capacity to contribute meaningfully to the collective human experience. Remember, when you choose to become, you are not just choosing for yourself. You are participating in the evolution of human consciousness, contributing your unique gifts to the collective and helping to shape the future of human development. The choice is yours, and it is renewed with every breath, every action, every moment of conscious engagement with your process of becoming. The journey of becoming extends far beyond what most imagine, reaching into the depths of our collective experience. Consider how each moment of choice creates ripples through both our personal unconscious and the collective unconscious, affecting not only our individual development, but the psychological evolution of humanity as a whole. In my years of clinical observation, I have noticed that those who fully embrace their journey of becoming often experience what I would call psychological synchronicities, meaningful coincidences that seem to guide and support their development. These are not mere chance occurrences, but rather manifestations of the deeper ordering principles of the psyche. Let us explore the concept of psychological time in relation to becoming. Unlike chronological time, which moves in a linear fashion, psychological time operates in a more circular and spiral pattern. A moment of insight might connect us with ancient wisdom, while a current challenge might help us resolve long-standing patterns. The archetypal journey of becoming often follows patterns that we can observe in nature, the cycle of seasons, the transformation of caterpillar to butterfly, the growth of a mighty oak from a tiny acorn. These natural patterns reflect deep psychological truths about the process of development and transformation. In my work with individuals undertaking this journey, I have observed that the process often involves what I would call psychological alchemy. the transformation of base psychological materials into more refined states of consciousness. This is not a linear process, but rather a cyclic one, involving repeated phases of dissolution and reconstitution. The role of creativity in the process of becoming cannot be overstated. When we engage creatively with our psychological material, we activate healing and transformative powers within the psyche. This creativity isn't limited to artistic expression. It includes creative problem solving, creative relationships, and creative approaches to life's challenges. Consider the importance of psychological boundaries in the process of becoming. While we must remain open to the unconscious material that emerges, we must also maintain healthy boundaries that protect our developing sense of self. This balance between openness and protection is crucial for healthy psychological development. The concept of psychological inflation, becoming identified with archetypal energies, is a common pitfall in the journey of becoming. True development requires us to remain grounded while working with powerful psychological forces. This grounding allows us to integrate these energies rather than being overwhelmed by them. Let me share an observation about the role of body awareness in the process of becoming. The body is not merely a vehicle for consciousness, but an integral part of our psychological reality. Paying attention to bodily sensations and signals can provide valuable guidance in our journey of development. The relationship between personal myth and collective myth becomes particularly relevant in the process of becoming. While we must discover and live our personal myth, this individual story always connects with larger patterns of human experience and meaning. In my clinical work, I have observed that successful individuation often involves developing what I would call psychological hospitality, the ability to welcome and work with all aspects of our psyche, even those that initially appear threatening or unwelcome. The choice to become often requires us to develop new relationships with uncertainty and ambiguity. Rather than seeking absolute certainty, we learn to trust in the unfolding process of development while maintaining our conscious engagement with it. The concept of psychological maturity takes on new meaning in the context of becoming. Rather than being a fixed state to achieve, maturity involves developing the capacity to work effectively with both conscious and unconscious aspects of our psyche. Let me emphasize the importance of psychological differentiation in the process of becoming. This involves developing the ability to distinguish between different aspects of our experience, between our thoughts and emotions, between our personal material and collective influences. The role of psychological tension in the process of becoming deserves special attention. While we often try to avoid tension, it is precisely through working with psychological tensions that we develop and grow. These tensions, when properly contained and worked with, become the driving force of our development. Consider the importance of psychological rhythm in the journey of becoming. Just as our physical lives have natural rhythms of activity and rest, so too does our psychological development follow rhythms of engagement and integration, expansion. The relationship between individual consciousness and collective consciousness becomes particularly significant in the process of becoming. While we must develop our individual consciousness, we must also maintain our connection with the collective wisdom that flows through human experience. Let me share an insight about the role of psychological paradox in the process of becoming. Often, we must learn to hold seemingly contradictory truths. We are both complete as we are and continuously developing, both individual and part of the collective, both temporal and connected to the eternal. The choice to become involves developing what I would call psychological ecology, an understanding of how different aspects of our psyche interact and influence each other, and how our psychological well-being connects with the well-being of the larger systems we're part of. In my observation, successful individuation often involves developing new relationships with power and vulnerability, rather than seeing these as opposites. We learn to understand how true power often emerges through embracing our vulnerability. The process of becoming requires us to develop psychological literacy, the ability to read and understand the symbolic language of the psyche, to interpret our dreams and inner experiences in ways that support our development. Let me emphasize the importance of psychological integrity in the journey of becoming. This isn't about moral perfectionism, but rather about maintaining alignment between our inner truth and our outer actions, between our values and our choices. The relationship between personal authority and collective wisdom becomes particularly important in the process of becoming. While we must develop our own authority, we must also remain open to the wisdom that comes through collective human experience. The depths of psychological transformation in the journey of becoming extend into territories that many would find surprising. Let us explore further the intricate layers of this profound process that shapes not only individual consciousness, but the very fabric of human evolution. Consider the role of psychological momentum in the process of becoming. Once we begin to align with our authentic path, we often discover an internal force that seems to carry us forward, even through difficulties. This momentum isn't blind force, but rather the natural flow of psychic energy when it's properly aligned with our true nature. In my clinical experience, I've observed that the process of becoming often involves what I would term psychological archaeology. The careful excavation of layers of personal and collective experience that have shaped our current state of being. This work requires both delicacy and persistence, much like an archaeologist uncovering ancient artifacts. The relationship between personal will and the larger will of the psyche becomes particularly nuanced in the process of becoming. While personal will is necessary for conscious engagement with our development, we must also learn to recognize and cooperate with the larger movements of the psyche that often exceed our conscious understanding. Let me share an observation about the role of psychological timing in the process of becoming. Just as a farmer must understand the seasons for planting and harvesting, we must develop sensitivity to the natural timing of psychological development. Some insights can only emerge when we've developed the capacity to receive them. The concept of psychological resilience takes on new depth in the context of becoming. This isn't merely about bouncing back from setbacks, but about developing the capacity to maintain our course of development, even when faced with significant internal and external challenges. The role of psychological shadow work in the process of becoming deserves special attention. The shadow isn't merely the repository of what we reject. It often contains vital energies and capabilities that we need for our development. Learning to work with shadow material becomes essential for genuine transformation. Consider the importance of psychological integration in the journey of becoming. This involves not just accepting different aspects of ourselves, but learning to work with them in harmony, creating a more complete and functional whole. This integration often occurs in spiraling cycles, each turn bringing new material into consciousness. The relationship between personal achievement and authentic becoming requires careful distinction. While external achievements can reflect genuine development, they can also become distractions or compensations that actually impede our authentic becoming. In my observations, successful individuation often involves developing what I would call psychological sovereignty. The ability to maintain our authentic course while navigating the various influences and pressures that life presents. This sovereignty isn't about isolation, but about maintaining authentic relationships while staying true to our path. The process of becoming requires us to develop new relationships with both success and failure. These become not endpoints, but feedback in our ongoing process of development, helping us refine our understanding and adjust our course as needed. Let me emphasize the importance of psychological discernment in the journey of becoming. This involves developing the capacity to distinguish between authentic impulses toward growth and the various forms of resistance and distraction that can arise from both internal and external sources. The relationship between individual development and collective evolution becomes particularly significant as we deepen our understanding of the process of becoming. Our individual choices and development contribute to the larger evolution of human consciousness in ways we might not immediately recognize. As we conclude this exploration of becoming, let us remember that this journey is both profoundly personal and universally human. Each step we take on our paths of authentic development contributes not only to our own growth, but to the collective evolution of human consciousness. The choice to become is renewed with every breath, every decision, every moment of conscious engagement with our process of development. It is a choice that requires courage, persistence, and wisdom. But it is also a choice that leads to the most profound fulfillment we can experience as human beings. May you find the strength to persist in your journey of becoming, the wisdom to recognize your authentic path, and the courage to follow it wherever it may lead. For in choosing to become who you truly are, you participate in the grand adventure of human psychological evolution, contributing your unique note to the symphony of human consciousness. Remember, the journey of becoming is not a destination, but a continuous unfolding of potential, a dance with the mystery of existence itself. In choosing to become, we choose life in its fullest expression, embracing both its challenges and its profound opportunities for growth and transformation. Thank you for joining me in this exploration of the journey of becoming. May your path be illuminated by authentic insight, supported by inner wisdom, and enriched by meaningful connection with both your individual truth and the collective wisdom of human experience.